Hey guys, welcome back to today's reading of Fame and Glory in Freedom, Georgia, Chapter 8. Yesterday's question dealt with which character would you like to hang out with and why. It's about 50-50, Bird and Harlem. Some people said Bird because she's funny and quirky, and some people said Harlem because they felt sorry for him. I chose Miss Delphine. I think she's funny. She sounds like the quintessential Southern woman with the extra makeup and the big hair and the ice cream always on hand. So I'm going to have to choose Miss Delphine if I were to hang out with someone. She sounds like a really nice lady. All right, here's chapter 8, and then we'll have a quick hot question. I love the part of the story where we are because a friendship is really forming between the two through a spelling bee. And just a little hint, those that know me know I totally dig a spelling bee. Old school, I know, but I still think spelling's important. Call me crazy. All right, here we go, chapter 8. I ran over to Miss Delphine's, my backpack bumping so hard against me it like to knock me over. When I got there, she was pushing Pop's wheelchair out onto the porch. It might be too cool for him out here, she said. She pulled his food-stained bathrobe closed and tucked a blanket over his lap. Pop's head bounced on his neck like a rag doll's. A string of drool dripped out of his mouth and landed on his hand. Miss Delphine whipped a tissue out of her pocket and wiped it off. Takes a good heart to do that, I thought. Are you too cool out here, Dad? She said. Pop shook his head and said, no, with a gravelly kind of voice. Miss Delphine patted his arm, and his crooked mouth turned up just a tad, like he was smiling. I tried to picture my own daddy in that wheelchair, and then I worried that my heart wasn't nearly as good as Miss Delphine's. I'm going to Harlem's after school, so I won't be here today, I said. I just thought I'd come by and say hey. Well, I'm glad you did, Miss Delphine said, combing Pop's hair real slow and gentle. How's the spelling bee going? We're doing B words today. I sat on the porch steps and watched her comb with one hand and smooth with the other. Comb and smooth. Comb and smooth. I think this is just so exciting, you and Harlem being together in that spelling bee and all, Miss Delphine said. She didn't have her makeup on yet, and she looked different. Younger. Like a kid almost. Mitzi Rayburn and Jenna Little made 200 flashcards, I said, trying not to look at Pop when he made mumbly noises. Miss Delphine tucked the comb into the pocket of Pop's bathrobe and sat on the step beside me. Well, so what, she said. That don't mean diddly squat. I guess. She put her arm around me and squeezed. Come on now, little birdie, she said. You've got to have faith. Okay. I bet your mom and dad are proud as can be, she said. I nodded. Daddy's going to change his truck driving schedule so he can come to my spelling bee. Miss Delphine smiled in that twinkly-eyed way of hers. She brushed my hair out of her eyes. Let me give you a perm. No way. A body wave then? Uh-huh. Uh-uh. How about just a trim? I tell you who could use a haircut, I said. Harlem. Really? I nodded. He looks like a hippie or something. I swear. Miss Delphine laughed. Then you bring him over here. I'll fix him right up. I bet he won't come. Well, why not? Well, what am I going to say? Hey, Harlem, how come you want to look like a hippie? Why don't you let Miss Delphine cut your hair? Oh, I'm sure you'll think of something. Miss Delphine slapped my knee and stood up. Now, you better get yourself off to school, Miss Bird. That afternoon at Elite Tattoos, I sat across from Harlem at the card table by the window. Ray was at the counter flipping through a magazine with race cars on the cover. It seemed like the tattoo business was kind of slow. Biennial, Harlem said. I closed my eyes and used my finger to write the invisible letters in the air. B-I-E-N-E-A-L, I said, then opened my eyes just enough to peek at Harlem. His face told me I got it wrong. Harlem wrote the word in his notebook and then spelled it for me, slow and patient, just like the others. I slumped against the back of my chair. We might as well give up, I said. I can't do this. Okay. Harlem shut his notebook and stood up. Good, then let's play checkers, Ray said. I jumped up. Wait a minute. You're just going to quit? Just like that? Well, you're the one who quit, Harlem said. I did not. Yes, you did. You did, Ray said, lining the checkers up on the checkerboard. Well, I didn't mean it, I said. Geez, y'all have to take everything I say so serious. Just then the bell over the door tinkled, and Mr. Moody came in carrying a bulging garbage bag that clattered and clanged with every step. There must have been a million cans in there. I wrinkled my nose. The smell of garbage and stale drinks hovered in the air around in that bag. Bring this upstairs, Mr. Moody said, thrusting the bag at Harlem. Ray and I watched Harlem carry the clattering bag up the stairs behind Mr. Moody. I hate him, I said. Ray lifted his eyebrows. Who? Mr. Moody. Why? He's so mean, I said, and he chews tobacco. That's gross. Ray swept the checkers off the board and into a shoebox. Aw, he just wants to be left alone. I picked a checker up off the floor and tossed it into the shoebox. All he ever does is hunt for cans, I said. Ray lit a cigarette and blew a stream of smoke up to the ceiling. He likes to fish, he said, snapping his lighter shut with a click. Where's he fish? I never saw him fishing anywhere. I took him out to my place at the lake once. Ray scratched his spiderweb elbow. Maybe I'll take him and Harlem both out there sometime. I like to fish, I said. Ray smiled, making his eyes crinkle up at the corners. Then you come too. How come Harlem lives with him anyway, I said. I'm not exactly sure. Didn't you even ask? Mr. Moody pays his rent and stays out of my business, so I stay out of his, Ray said. Harlem's daddy's in prison, and his mama choked on a chicken bone at the Holiday Inn, I said. Ray laughed so hard he started coughing. Is that right? He said, wiping tears from his eyes. I felt myself blush. Well, that's what I heard. I reckon that's as good a story as any. Well, then what's the real story? Beats me, he said, but I guarantee you it's not as good as that one. I've always been one to ask what I want to know, so it was against my nature that I hadn't just shut up and asked Harlem why he had come to Freedom and what he was doing living with Mr. Moody. I guess there was just something about him that told me to go slow. But when Harlem came back downstairs, I knew I couldn't wait another minute. How come you live with Mr. Moody? I said. A cloud moved over Harlem's face for one tiny second, and then he said, family problems. What kind of problems? Ray cleared his throat and shuffled his feet around, but I just ignored him. Harlem shrugged and stooped his shoulders like he was trying to be smaller. Just problems. Is Mr. Moody related to you? I asked. Yeah. Do you like him? Harlem tossed his head to get the hair out of his face. Yeah. Everybody calls him the Can Man, I said. Harlem picked up the dictionary, thumbed through the pages until he got to the B's, and said, boutique. I took a deep breath, lifting my shoulders clean up to my ears, and then let them drop with a long, loud sigh. Then I pushed Harlem's notebook across the counter towards him and tossed him a pen. You might as well add that to the list, I said. Harlem wrote boutique in his notebook, and then he said, you're doing good. I felt my mouth plumb drop right open. I am? He pushed his hair out of his eyes and nodded. Really? I said. I guess I wanted to hear him say it again. Really, he said. He must have seen the doubt in my eyes because he said, boutique's a hard word. We weren't even finished with the B's yet, and already I was beginning to think I really did have me a true friend. Okay, so what are the hot questions today? We're going to talk about the main characters and their problems, okay? So the plot of the story are the main events, the problem and the solution, right? So the hot question is, what main problems are the characters facing at this point? So let's first think about Bird. What is the main problem Bird is facing at this point? It could be personal problems, problems with the spelling bee. What type of problems or conflicts is she having? How about Harlem? What type of personal problems or conflicts is he having? At this point in the story, who do you think has the bigger problem? Why do you think so? Tune in tomorrow for Chapter 9. Have a great day.